Welcome once again, Instagram and Facebook fam. It is I, Informer. We're here today once again with another video of HTML basics. We'll be learning how to develop web pages and learning how to style them with various tags as well. I have uploaded a couple of videos maybe a month ago, but for some reason Facebook took them down or whatever. But this will be just a quick recap before we move on to our next video discussing CSS, commonly known as cascading style sheets. Alright, so let's begin. Now the question becomes, what is HTML and what does it stand for? Well, HTML is the basic component of web design, and the acronym itself stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Essentially, all that means in simplistic terms is that it's a language that is a markup language, right? How are you going to define it with saying another language? But no, it's basically a document type language in which you can use various tags to produce a web page. And the reason it's markup because you can constantly make changes to it. So there's two ways you can do that. Since it's a doc-based language, you can use any notepad editor or text editor, such as Notepad, to write the code. So if I bring it up, Notepad up, we can begin writing our code here. First thing you want to do is just start with the tags. Tags are written like this. HTML is where the code initially begins, and then we can have our body. We can have our title, and then we can have our, well, let me actually put the title before the body and change the title to the body. Basically, so HTML is up here where your code will start. The title is where you would put the name of your web page. Not that it'll appear on your web page, but it'll appear in the metadata, which is data about other data. Like when you upload your page to Google, it'll search for your title and its metadata. And our body tag is the core center of our coding. Whatever we put inside the body will be executed. So like if you wanted to add text to your page, we use the P tag. We do our brackets, P. And as in any programming languages, they really start you off with simple basic hello world. So let's add that. This is very important. With every tag that we write, we must turn off. And the way we do that, we just simply add a backslash within our tag. Like for instance, we just did the P tag. So we just turned it off, backslash P. Alright, and so, excuse me. No, I ain't got that, so don't even worry. So let's turn off the rest of our tags. Can you spot the ones that we need to turn off? Alright, if you said we need to turn off the HTML in the body, you're correct. So let's turn those off. HTML, and then we turn off the body. All right. Now, if you're doing your coding in Notepad, it is important to go up to the file, and then we go to save, and we want to make sure we scroll down to the save type and select all files. Then name your code, whatever you want to name it. I'm just going to name it blank number 2. So, yeah, we can name our file whatever you want, but make sure that you at the end do a .html, so that way your code can be transliterated and interpreted by your web browser. Alright, so we save. Let's give our first example a run through and see what the results are. Of course, you can navigate to the location where you saved your file, but I like doing it this way. So here is the file that we just created. I named it blank T. I'm simply going to right click on it and hit open, and you should see it open in my browser. Alright, so we opened our file in our web browser, but where's the words hello world? Did you catch my intentional mistake? What tag did I forget to turn off? I purposely forgot to turn off the title tag. So let's turn off the title tag and then save our changes and refresh our browser. And let's see what happens. Control S, shortcut to save. Come over here. I either could click here, or I like to do the F5. And as you can see, since we turned off all of our tags, there is our hello world. So that's one way of doing the code. To south. Another way to do the code is to use Visual Studio Code. So let's copy our code from the notepad. Come over here to our Visual Studio Code. Paste it. Excuse me. And let's save this as well. A link to where to download Visual Studio Code will be in the comment section below. Preferably prefer using Visual Studio Code, because as you add more tags to your code, it becomes easier to see which elements are working and which are not. So we saved it. So let's go open it up and see what happened. And as you can see to your left, it's the same results as we did it in the notepad. So a quick review. HTML is where your code begins, and we turn off every tag that we write with a backslash. That indicates to the web browser that is where you would like your code to stop. So far we have just some text on our page, but the text that we have is kind of small. If we wanted to use a bigger font size to make the text larger, we would use the P font size tag to make it bigger. An example of that is right here. So simply could take one bracket away, and we could say font. You see how it goes red as I type? font size equals, and then we can have our quotes. Inside our quotes, we'll specify the font size. Let's make our size 34. So in between the quotes, we'll do 34. And since we used another tag, we have to turn off the font, just as like we did the P tag. So we simply just space out our P closing tag, and we'll turn off the font. We'll save it, Control S it, and come over to our browser and refresh it and see what happens. Sorry. And we'll important thing, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are proof that you're learning, so don't be afraid, if this is your first time starting off with any type of coding, to make mistakes. It just shows an area of improvement. So we'll save our font size, Control S it, come over to our browser, refresh it. So as you can see, speaking about mistakes, I made a couple with the simple line and number 5 or code. Unlike Notepad, Visual Studio, like when you're writing or adding another tag, it has the tendency to sometimes put in like an additional tag that you already wrote. That's alright. We'll just work it through. So our P tag is what we use to add any type of text to our page. Like hey, we must also turn off our tags. Control S that, refresh, and you see we have hey over here. So we were trying to change the size of our tag, of our text rather. So for that, we keep our P tag, but we add another tag known as the font size tag. So we do our brackets, we say font size equals, but for our quotes, let's make it 34. 34. Then we'll have our closing brace. See, I just put the closing brace in, automatically Visual Studio Code puts the closing bracket for my tag. But whatever is written in between here, the size attribute will be applied to the font, the text rather. In our case, we want hey. Alright, so we turned off the font, but we also have to turn off our P tag as well. So let's turn the P tag off, save it, refresh it, and we have hey in size 34. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Happens to the best of us. I've been doing this a lot. That is teaching people coding. Alright, side note, I could have edited that part out, but we live in a world where only like the perfection is presented, not the mistakes and various edits that went into the finished product. So I'm gonna leave that in and we'll continue on. Alright, another useful tag is the BR tag. which is self-closing. It doesn't have to be turned off. And what the BR tag does is add a space between whatever precedes it. So, for instance, since we did the BR right before our text on the page, then saved it, you see it adds a space and moves the text down a little bit. BR stands for break, simply break, nothing really special. Add a space. So that's really cool, you might be thinking, but what about color to your web page? For that, we would use the body style, background, color tag, body style, background, color. Yeah, for that we'll use the body style background color equals, come on, background dash color equals sign, nope, that's color. And what this allows you to do is pick a color for your web page. Let's keep ours, let's say blue. So after the R in the word color, we have our semicolons, we say red, and then we have our semi. So you might be thinking, pretty cool so far. I know how to add text to my web page now. But what about color for a web page? For that, we would use the body style. Body style equals, with our quotes, the word background color. And we would pick a color for our page. So let's just pick something at random, aqua. And as you can see, unlike Notepad, if you was to type this in Notepad, you wouldn't get a visual representation of the color that you picked. Not only that, it makes it easier to adjust and change to different colors as well. And if we did this in Notepad, we would have to search the web for a particular color besides red, green, yellow, blue, gray. All right. All right. So let's save it and let's see the changes. Come over here, refresh, and we have our green background. So a little recap real quick before we end. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is basically an editable document type of code that is used to build web pages. It's the fundamental core element of web design. So HTML, this is where your code would start. These are known as tags. The title tag, you can put your title for your page, and when you upload it on like a domain server and search for your title in Google, it will search the code for the metadata, which is data about other data, and it will bring it up in the search results. Our body tag is the core center of our HTML code. Whatever is written inside will be executed. HTML is a top-down language execution code. So essentially it reads in descending order. Alright, and then our BR tag that adds a space between what precedes. We use our P tag to add text to our page, and along with that we could use our font size to change the size of our text. All tags that are written must be turned off with the backslash. If it's not, it will not work. Alright. And an important thing to mention real quick is that any tag that is written outside the body will not execute. It will not execute. For instance, if I were to move this outside of the body and place it like underneath or in between the title, it will not work. Control S it, and we Control S it to save it and refresh it. You'll notice, right, you notice on our left, our web page is just blank now. That is because we took our P tag in our body background and we took it outside of the body. All we do to fix it is place it back inside the body, like so. You can either copy and paste it, or you can use the old Control Z for undo. And then resave your changes and refresh your page, and you're back in action. There's two more tags that I would like to introduce to you. One is the H tag. It is known as a heading. It gives a heading for your page. You can name your heading whatever you would like. There's 4 styles of headings, and it ranges from, in size rather, depending on the particular one you use, the text will get bigger or smaller in size. Alright, and our last tag we'll look into is how to add images to your page. So for that, skip line, we will use the image source. Image src equals with a quotes. It is important that you have the image in the same directory or the same location that you saved your HTML file, but you can also do it too in a different. Alright, so since I have my image in the same location as my HTML file, I simply can type the name in, which is nice pen. Very important, make sure you hit the .jpg. Right, and have our quotes there. So after you specify your name of the image that you would like to use, we can also add some specificity to it by determining where we want it to show up on our page. So after the quotes, we can use Alt equals then our quotes with the name of our image, but within the Alt we don't have to use the JPG. Then we could specify a width. That is how far you want your image to stretch. Again, you need the quotes. So we say 500. You don't have to use my values. And our height, we can say let's say 333. And we have our ending. No. Ending tag, as you can see, it automatically closed the body because it's inside of the body. We Control S it and refresh our page. And as you can see, we have our image displayed at a specific position on our page. Alright, so that concludes this video.